Now, let's turn to that short-term outlook, and the last topic I'm going to touch on, of course, this is basically the punchline, is on the interest rate story. Our view, simply put, and we've had it for a while, is we think 5% is enough from the Bank of Canada and the Fed. We do think they're both done. It's still very much a debate in the markets whether the bank or the Federal Reserve has to raise rates one more time or not. We just heard an important speech from Fed Chair Jay Powell just this afternoon that he sort of hinted that we're getting close. He definitely left the door open for the possibility of more interest rate hikes, but increasingly the financial markets are leaning to our view, that they're done. But the other side of this story, and this goes back to the high for longer, we think we're going to be here for a while. We think they have to keep rates here for a while until they're comfortable that they've got inflation down close to 2%, which is, again, is their target. That's going to take some time. So we're likely to stay at this kind of elevated level for a while. We do see rates starting to come down by the second half of next year. We think it's a story for about the summer or the late summer of 2024. But I will hasten to add that we think the step down is going to be like a staircase. It's not going to be the elevator ride down that we saw during the financial crisis back in 07, 08, or during the pandemic. We think this is going to be a much slower process as we come down the staircase. Now, I think the most interesting question on the interest rate side is where are we going to settle out when we're on the other side of this inflation episode? Like, whether the bank or the Fed raises rates one or two more times, exactly when they start cutting, that's interesting to folks like me. But I think the more important story for you is where interest rates going to be in 2, 3, 4 years. Like, what is going to be the trend level? Are we going to go all the way back to those extreme lows that we saw in the 10 years before the pandemic that we became so used to? Or are we going to hang around current levels like we were before the financial crisis? I think the truth is somewhere in between. So if we think of the Bank of Canada's overnight rate as being 5%, that's their key lending rate that they target, we think that we're eventually going to settle in the range of just a little bit below 3% on that key rate. So something like 2 to 2.5 percentage points lower than we are today. Now, we think that's more of a story for 25, 26 before we get back down to those kind of levels. But I actually think that, and that's a debate that really the financial markets are grappling with as well. And that's one of the reasons why, as I said at the outset, that those long-term bond yields have gone up so much is that I think the market is slowly wrapping its head around the fact that that's where we're going to settle at. If anything, the financial markets are actually aiming a little bit higher. If you look at current pricing right now, they think the Bank of Canada rate's going to settle more in the 3s when we get it much further out. I'm not quite that bearish over the medium to longer term.